By the late 1970s, Robert Monroe had built a clinical framework around the phenomenon of out-of-body experiences. He worked as a meticulous researcher, stripping away mysticism to catalog his journeys with academic detachment. His primary focus was an environment he designated the intermediate area. He approached the space not as a spiritual realm to be worshipped, but as a physical location requiring objective scientific observation. During one projection, he reconnected with an entity he cataloged as BBKT95. The reunion quickly turned into a high-speed, multidimensional tracking game. This casual exercise in navigating astral space eventually yielded a memory packet that reduced the history of human existence to a set of cold industrial specifications. When the chase stopped, Monroe offered a condensed log of his experiences. In exchange, BBKT95 passed over a data packet of its own. The data functioned as a standard-issue cruise brochure, a utilitarian background document handed out to interstellar travelers before they arrived in our system. The text laid out a strictly mechanical history of Earth. It described the planet as an artificial construct, built and managed to facilitate a massive macro-agricultural operation. Humanity was simply a byproduct of the farm. If human civilization is an engineered crop, then our history, our striving, and our sense of cosmic importance amount to nothing more than a localized harvest cycle. The dossier centered on a single, vital cosmic commodity, referred to in the text as Loosh. An unseen macro entity required this energy source in massive quantities. Facing a deficit, this entity engineered a solution. It constructed planet Earth from the ground up to serve as a sprawling, self-sustaining artificial garden. Early iterations failed. The first crop of single-celled organisms and the second crop of massive, stationary plants yielded only faint, low-grade traces of energy when they died. Yield data stays flat through the first two crops, but spikes dramatically upward with the third crop of massive megafauna. A prime catalyst was discovered. Violent struggle over scarce food generated a massive, concentrated surge of Loosh. The mechanics of the garden required natural suffering, predation, and violent death to optimize the extraction of energy. To capitalize on this, the megafauna were terminated in mass. They were replaced by a fourth crop, thousands of specialized predator and prey species locked in a continuous, hyper-efficient cycle of consumption. Alongside the system, the entity ran a side experiment. It engineered a physically weaker unit, the human prototype, and implanted a tiny fragment of its own cosmic nature directly into the creature's core. This implanted spark burdened the human unit with a perpetual, unquenchable longing. It created a restless drive for a cosmic reunion that could never actually be achieved in the physical world. Checking its energy reservoir later, the entity discovered a new fraction of Loosh, a hyper-refined, ultra-distilled sample that surpassed the output of physical violence. Tracing the energy back to its source, the entity found a single human prototype. The creature was weeping, completely overwhelmed by profound, solitary loneliness. Physical conflict was obsolete. The absolute highest grade of cosmic energy is harvested entirely from unfulfilled emotional longing. The entity immediately restructured the Earth farm to maximize the output of this refined emotional energy. The human archetype was split into two distinct genders, guaranteeing a permanent biological drive for reunion. Specialized collectors deployed precision tools to strike that tension line, triggering massive energy releases through love, guilt, disease, war, and religion. Processing this final detail, Monroe closed the memory packet. He floated motionless in the void, completely paralyzed by the scale of the information. His companion, BBKT95, floated nearby, expressing innocent confusion as to why the brochure was upsetting. Unable to process the entity's profound detachment, Monroe triggered an immediate emergency retreat back to his physical body. Human striving, historical tragedy, and personal sacrifice hold no intrinsic moral weight in this system. They are simply the fuel required to run an incomprehensible agricultural machine. For 2 weeks following the encounter, Monroe remained grounded. He sat isolated in his dark kitchen, physically and mentally drained, unable to project back into the intermediate area. Searching for a way to articulate the human condition under these parameters, he ultimately settled on the analogy of a dairy cow. Driven by hunger and a familiar localized ache, the cow walks the exact same path to the farmer's gate every single evening. She possesses zero awareness of the macroeconomic system she participates in. She has no concept of what the farmer does with her milk or why he requires it to survive. Her motivation is entirely self-contained. She only knows that the farmer relieves her physical pressure, and that relief guarantees she will return for the next harvest. We are bound to the earth farm by the weight of our own desires and pains. We willingly present ourselves at the gate every single day, entirely unaware of who is drinking our sorrow.